Trojan family. What's up, man? USCJ here. It's the top of the morning. It's the top of the morning. I hope everybody is getting ready to get up, get out, and make some things happen this morning. Listen, we still ride it high on this big time USC football victory. And listen, there was a couple of things, storylines. As I told you, we're going to unfold this, unpack this all week long. Some of the storylines that took place. Another storyline that took place was the USC football true freshman that absolutely showed out. Look, it's straight up go time with these true freshmen. I think USC has a promising future with each and every one of them. I kind of want to talk about them. I think I got about five that we want to talk about. Also, I want to talk about a guy like this, Taylor Mays. Taylor Mays is one of those guys that's been around the football program. You guys already know. We've seen USC football lost to the sauce as it relates to tackling. He took over the DB job, coaching the safeties and the DBs. And as a result, it looked like these guys, the 6 weeks preparation, whatever they did, it looked like Taylor Mays absolutely had these guys moving and grooving. I want to know from you guys. Drop those comments in the comment section. Where do you think Taylor Mays fits in this defensive staff and how he coached these defensive units? We've seen guys like Anthony Beavers, as I stated before, absolutely form tackling. I mean, just socking people. I'm saying socking, punching people, punching the ball out and absolutely going crazy on the field. I mean, these guys look physical, they look fast, and they look strong when you're talking about this Louisville team. And I think Prophet Brown as well, Jacoby Covington, all of these guys absolutely had a great game. Even Bryson Shaw stepped up. He looked different. And so I'm very – and Jalen Smith, come on, man. Let's give Jalen Smith some love. We'll talk about him another day. Jalen Smith and Miller Moss, those two guys are high school teammates. That's a whole nother storyline. We'll get into that a whole nother day. But, man, look, all of these guys absolutely perform at a high level. By the way, Jalen Smith has been performing consistently like this all year long. Don't let me forget about Antoine Fagans and Max Williams. Max Williams, absolutely, he punched somebody's stuff out too, man. I mean, that was one of the game-changing performances. Early on in the game, the storyline was Max Williams, absolutely. But the DBs as a whole, the whole safety group, DBs and corners, it was. We could give the credit to Taylor Mays. So you guys hit me in the comments. What do you think the USC staff should do with a guy like Taylor Mays? I know we got Doug Belt, who's experienced coaching up the DBs, but listen, man, I think he's a valuable guy. He's a Trojan. I think USC can absolutely keep him, utilize him. Being that he's a true Trojan, you need one of those guys on the staff, man. You guys hit me in the comments. You guys tell me what you think about Taylor Mays. Now, real quick, we're going to talk about a couple of things as it relates to this football game and some of these freshmen. But real quick, I want to talk about Miller Moss and some of the things the comments that there were a lot of people that were making a lot of comments as it relates to Miller Moss. And they said, Jay, one guy in particular, I cannot remember his name. He was a comment. I'm going to start screenshotting some of those and put them up here. But he said, Jay, why are you so high on Miller Moss now? You jumping off of the Will Howard bandwagon? And I can't say I was on the bandwagon per se. I've always liked Miller Moss. And I've always stated that if Miller Moss throws over 400 yards, what will we do then? Will he get a fair opportunity? My main concern was, will Miller Moss ever get a fair opportunity? And that's the thing. But he really outperformed himself. He outperformed like better and exceeded expectations more than what anybody could ever think about. And so the guy was saying that, he said, Jay, but Will Howard threw four touchdowns against a team like Texas. I said, okay, well, Texas is good, but Texas only has the number 25 team, a total defense in the country as it relates to a top 25 team. Is their number 25 in total defense. Louisville had a total defensive team at number 16. So when you consider the fact that this wasn't no Coastal Carolina, this wasn't just some, little cream puff teams, I'm not even going to say San Jose State because they're still, a decent team. But this wasn't just a small level, lower level tier team that Miller Moss went out there and did it. He did it in the fashion that Miller Moss did it in. It was straight up go time. You got to give him credit. And I asked the guy, when have you seen Will Howard throw 6 TDs in a game on that level like that? He said, well, he's threw 4 against Texas. I said, okay, well, Miller did it against Louisville. And not only was it the way he did it with ease. And I'm going to tell you guys this. Let me make this statement while we're here right now talking about Miller before I get into these super freshmen. Because one of the things that I've noticed about Miller Moss Wednesday night in the Holiday Bowl was that, and this was a little bit different from Caleb Williams. Caleb, well, let me just say this. The offensive line was being essentially persecuted all year long, given the fact that, they were, some of the games were kind of rough. You've seen the pressure against Notre Dame. You've seen Arizona bring the pressure, and they had hard times at times. But I've always maintained this. I said, sometime, if you guys remember, we can't hold the ball for as long as we do. We can't be up there changing plays when the coach hadn't called plays. And you guys remember that Lincoln Riley gave Caleb a little bit of freedom as it relates to changing plays. And we've seen sometime the clock would bleed down to maybe 15 seconds off the clock because there was plays being changed. Caleb would clap his hands and he would raise the leg, and then sometime it'll work and then sometime it wouldn't. It just varies. Sometimes the ball will be fumbled on the goal line. But what we're seeing different from Miller Moss, because he doesn't have that freedom, and this is my opinion, this is my observance, I think because he didn't have that freedom, he just went out there, called the play that was given. I don't even think he changed the play one time. And have you guys noticed anything about Wednesday night in the game? Did you notice that there were no false starts in the game? Now, I know a lot of people are going to talk about Elijah Page being in there and made a tremendous difference. But listen, man, in my opinion, I think overall, we've seen Miller Moss execute the offense to a T. We have not seen the offense be executed like this this year. I mean, this fluid, this easy. And you will say, okay, maybe against San Jose State or maybe against Nevada. But listen, this was against a big-time team. Do you guys realize that USC hadn't beat any top 25 teams? Miller Moss went out there and beat the number 16 team in the country with the number 16 rated total defense in the country, and he executed like it was nothing. It was almost as if it was easy to him. With so-called USC had 20 players out. 20 players out. I think Louisville might have had 3 or 4 or something like that. They didn't even have that many. They had a starting receiver out, but pretty much their whole defense was back. I think it was one major guy from the defense. But I watched the press conference of Louisville team, and they asked the coach. They said, "Look, what do you think? What do you think happened with USC? Why were they able to move the ball the way they were moving the ball?" And the coach said, "Listen, we were beat. I have no excuses. We were beat in all 3 facets of the game. We were beat on offense. We were beat on defense. We were beat on special teams." They said the same thing when it came to the players. The players said the same thing. Listen, we were just beat. Nobody had any excuses. And so I'm giving Miller Moss his credit. I'm giving Miller Moss his just due, because what Miller Moss did and the level that he performed was absolutely on a phenomenal level, man. So look, you guys give me the comments on that. I want to know what you guys think. Also, I want to take a look at the USC super freshmen here. We got a bunch of them here that absolutely perform. And one of them is going to be this guy right here, man. It's going to be this guy, Malachi. Excuse me, I said Malachi. It's going to be Makai Lemon, man. Makai Lemon absolutely balled out. He's one of these super freshmen that I was telling you guys about that I think is straight up go time with, man. Makai Lemon, he had 81.4 offensive grade totally according to PFF. He had an 89.4 run blocking grade according to PFF. Makai Lemon absolutely balled out. Makai Lemon had 2 receptions for 75 yards, which was a 37.5 average with a long of 40-yard long. And that's coming from Makai Lemon. So this is one of the super freshmen that I'm talking about. 2 freshmen that absolutely came in there, wheeled and dealt, and he had it only popping, only cracking. And I think USC's future is very bright with a guy like Makai Lemon. Also, we want to talk about this guy. He absolutely where has Jacoby Lane been at all year long? Can anybody tell me that? Jacoby Lane is a 6'4" guy, very lengthy. His catch radius is unbelievable. He had everybody lost in the sauce. And Jacoby Lane, he had 3 receptions for 60 yards with a 20-yard average. 2 TDs, and his long was 31 yards. I am so impressed with Jacoby Lane. It is ridiculous. I remember doing a video when he first committed, and I can remember some of the catches. And you guys remember he had these one-handed catches that he was doing, And I saw it back then. I knew Jacoby Lane was a monster on the field. And, man, this guy absolutely performed. And, listen, we're going to talk about this another time, playing the best players. I don't care if you're a freshman. I don't care what you are. You got to play the best player. These guys gave us a better chance, believe it or not, to win. I mean, you cannot guard 6'5". You can't guard 6'6". You can't guard it. And then the next one, super freshman that did his thing, was a guy by the name of Deuce Robinson. You guys see him here. He had one reception for 44 yards, one TD. But Deuce Robinson, he as well, he had the one drop, and he redeemed himself. I give Deuce some credit. And I attribute some of that to the nervousness, man. Deuce has so much pressure coming out of high school on him that, everybody is expecting him to live up to it. And so he calmed his nerves. I believe he calmed down, and we seen he had a big-time catch in this game for 44 yards, and he was a major factor in USC beating Louisville, man. So shout out to Deuce. The Deuce absolutely got loose, man. Also, there's another guy. We all know him very, very well. He's a superstar. He's a speedster. Everybody relates, thinks he's the next. I'm not even going to say his name. He's his own. His name is Zachariah Branch. Zach Branch only had 2 receptions for 9 yards. However, and his long was 12 yards. However, Zach Branch was one of those guys that, the kick return was in play with him. And I thought he was going to run this back, man. Zach Branch actually took it back, and he came very, very close with taking it back. And he just had one man to trip up. And you could tell the frustration that was on his face. But, man, when you're talking about all of these guys that USC has, it is straight up go time. And I thought I had one more picture of the other guy, but the other guy is actually Elijah Page. Elijah Page was that last guy that USC had, man. And he had a 25 – listen to this. Elijah Page had 25 pass block snaps. He had a 72.9 pass blocking grade total for PFF. He had 0 sacks allowed, and he had 1 pressure allowed. Listen, man, are you guys excited about what we're seeing from USC football Trojans as it relates to this whole football season, as it relates to some of these freshmen? Some of these freshmen absolutely showed out. I didn't even mention guys like Elijah Hughes, that actually he dominated. Sam Green came in there and balled out. I seen Braylon Shelby come in there. So USC football has got some guys that, and Christian Pierce was on the sideline. There were a couple of people that were asking me about him, safety Christian Pierce, and then Malik Crawford. I seen him on the sideline as well. But USC, this class, very underrated. And you guys going to see the same thing I said about this last year's class, and we see how they contributed in the bowl game. We see that next year's class, 2024, I've already told you guys about Cam Fountain, Braylon Conley. I mean, it's so many guys that I can go on and on and on. And I told you guys I'm going to do a breakdown of these guys and compare it with some of these other guys from other classes, because I want you guys to know, just like these guys that you see here, that we have some superstar players in the USC football Trojans, with the USC football Trojans right now. So look, man, I'm going to pick this thing back up. Like I told you guys, I'm going to be breaking it up, and we're going to talk about different aspects of this game that USC showed out. There's so many storylines. We're going to cover that. And so listen, man, I'm out of here until later on. Listen, don't forget, everybody, make sure you get up, get out, and make some things happen. Until later on, fight on, fight on, fight on.